Hello, everybody. This is Faris.
And this is Caleb, and welcome to another episode of Conversations with the Homecare Guyz.
Caleb, man, this is going to be a banger, brother.
It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one today, guys.
This is going to be really good. Caleb, man, how's everything coming along so far this week?
Oh, man, everything is coming along absolutely amazing. You know what? I'm looking forward to this upcoming weekend. Mm-hmm. I just want to rest, and read a book. That's what I want to read. So I just want to just have this time to myself and rest and just read.
Man, some days like that is needed. It's so needed just to kind of, I call it just looking at the wall and watching the paint dry, just doing something that's so boring, but boring time is actually needed. Yes,
and so sometimes you need that time to just recuperate, especially how often and how busy we run our lives, juggling from business to family to relationships to everything. And so you just need that time alone and just to read a book. I'm reading this book right now with Joyce Meyer called Battlefield of the Mind. And it's really, really good. I think I'm on chapter 10 right now. So I want to complete that this weekend and really just kind of enjoy my weekend.
Man, that's awesome.
How about you? What do you got planned this weekend? Man. Or what do you got planned later?
This weekend, I know in the next couple of weeks, I know we'll be off on some business travel. We got a couple of things we have to do, some training, looking at some just different other business opportunities. So we're going to be kind of busy in the next couple of weeks. So this weekend, I'm just going to be spending some time with the family, kind of relaxing a little bit, maybe start some of the Christmas shopping. My wife and I got a chance to sit down a couple of days ago and kind of mapped out the whole fiesta things like that. So we're going to be kind of mapping that out, maybe start a little bit of that and just kind of relaxing, spending some time with the kids, because I know as we travel, we're going to be away from them for a week or so and coming back and some other travel as well. So
well, we have an interesting topic today, and the topic is what you must know before you start a business. And so I want to just kind of reflect back, Faris. We can take a moment to reflect back. What was the first business venture that you actually were a part of, or what was the first business that you started? And then we're going to talk about some things that you must know before you start a business.
Just kind of thinking back over, one of the first business ventures that I started was I remember actually owning a whole, I guess, what's it called? Like vending machines.
You had a vending machine business.
I had a vending machine business. I was in high school. I'll never forget, I saved up some money for working at a car wash, and I wanted to go through and get a car. I ended up buying a car, and I looked in the newspaper, so that was back in the day, looked in the newspaper, found a vending machine route that was for sale. It was actually someone who was in the Air Force down in Warner Robins, Georgia. Wow. They were selling a vending machine route, which had about 15 vending machines, saved up some good money, and I ended up buying that route. And so that was my first business, my first introduction to entrepreneurship, first opportunity. I had so many coins everywhere, so many quarters.
How did you do with your vending machine business?
Did very well. I had I think it was like 15 vending machines. They were already stationed in different places. I had them in factories. I had them in schools. I had them in just different places. And what I had to do was, which I would not recommend, but it worked out for me. I remember actually skipping school, Caleb, while I was in high school.
Oh, I know Mama would have killed you.
I think Mama was on board with it. But I remember skipping school and going to Sam's Club, buying the snacks that I needed. And I was a responsible 16-year-old because I did that and had a job as well. But skipping school to go through and fill up my vending machines and collecting all those coins, that introduced me to business. And then I think that's where the bug actually bit me. And I was like, that was something I could never let go. But man, I'm curious, man, what was your first business venture, man?
Well, I was always entrepreneur driven. I think probably when I was even in middle school or so, I used to sell candies and stuff from, to people in school, my classmates. But one of the official businesses that I started was a carpet cleaning business. And I remember, I don't know if you remember, Mama bought a Kirby vacuum.
I remember.
And listen, those Kirby people, they know what they're doing, because they set all the family down and they discussed how dirt mites eat your dead skin. And, as a younger child, I had nightmares, Faris, about those dust mites. And so Mama ended up spending hundreds of dollars, maybe thousands of dollars for this Kirby. And I said, well, we're going to make it, we're going to use it. We're going to make it worth that $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever it was. And so we started a carpet cleaning business, my brother and Joshua and I. And so little did I know that we got our first client because one of Mama's teachers said she had allergies.
Was it Miss Beth?
I don't. We're not going to get on that.
I remember who it
was. So we did 3 rooms for, I think it was $100. And so starting the business, we made flyers and all these other things like that. So we actually kind of, learned a little bit of business, but all the hard work that we put into it, we did not, if we would have came up with if we would have known what we knew now, man, we would have probably had a successful carpet cleaning business. So that was one of the first businesses, Faris, that I could say that, I was happy to be a part of and learn about. So it was a carpet cleaning business. But let's talk about this. Let's go into what we're talking about, which is what are some things that you must know before starting a business. So Faris, take it away with the first topic.
Man, I think one of the things you have to know, you have to actually find a need in the community and something that you're passionate about and kind of merge those together, because sometimes you may see a need, but you may not be passionate about it, or you may have a passion about something, but it's not a need. But you have to find a need in the community and something you're passionate about and merge those together. And then I think that's the first step when actually coming to grips of actually understanding what business you need to start.
Right.
And I'm curious, Caleb, I know, just like I said, like with anything, helping others, that's always been something that you've been passionate about. I'm kind of curious about, like, how did you merge those two things together?
Well, how we started Prime Care Home Care Services was, so my passion was always helping others. And so my grandmother came to stay with us when I was in high school. And so we used to help our grandmother with home care service. We actually did home care service before we even knew what it was. And so when I went off to college, I did an internship with a home care business. And that home care business was actually what I did for my grandmother. And so that was a need. I realized with the internship that there wasn't a lot of home care providers in our area where I grew up in. So Hancock, Milledgeville, Baldwin County, the surrounding counties, they didn't have a lot of home care companies. And so I said, well, that was an area of need. Yes. We needed home care in our area. And so I found that, and I had a passion because my goal was to be a physician or, work in the healthcare field.
Yes.
And so I just merged my passion with the need in the community, and I ended up starting a home care company when I was in college. And so that's my story about that, and I totally agree with any business. You want to, most people pursue their passions, which is great. Don't get me wrong. There's a time for that, and you can really be successful with your passions, but it's always great when you can find a need in your community and address that need and excel at addressing the need.
Man, and that's one thing. And I think one thing to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying is, after you find that passion, after you find that need, and you come with that idea to say, hey, I'm going to start a business. And this is some things that we're even teaching our team members here at Prime Care, man, because one thing we realize that when you're developing leaders, some leaders, they desire to have they have entrepreneurial endeavors as well. So we're not afraid to go through and say, hey, branch out, go through and do these things. And these are things that we're hoping some of our team members are taking notes as well to go through and realize that, hey, you can go through and start a business too. But go ahead, Caleb.
Yeah, but one thing when you're talking about your community and finding the passion, you still have to do some of those preliminary steps. You have to come up with the name of your business. You have to do your incorporation. You have to get trademark. You have to do all your legalities of your organization. So you want to make sure that you are really, really in tune with that, and make sure you get your legal structure together as well.
And jumping onto that right there is so important after you find that passion to go through it and do your due diligence.
Right.
How do you go through and actually do it? First of all, everyone has a smartphone. Everyone has a computer, or most people have a computer. You go through and Google these things. Go through and Google the name, come up with the creative name, then Google the name to make sure it's not taken.
Right.
Make sure it's not trademarked. Make sure there's no copyright infringement going along with any parts of the corporation that you're trying to go through and actually start. Go through and search the Secretary of State to go through and ensure that this is a corporation that you can go through and actually start as well.
Trademark search as well.
Trademark searches. Go through and see, are you going into an industry that's regulated or unregulated?
Right.
Go through and do your research and do your due diligence on that as well. Go through go to GoDaddy.com and see if your website domain is even available.
Right.
This is what we're talking about when it comes to doing your due diligence. You've already passionate about something. You see a need. Now it's starting the process. Now this is how you go through and actually start your business off on the right foot, because the worst thing to do is to get a passion, get a name, and then you start searching and realize that somebody else already had that name.
And you can't even take the name.
Man.
So one thing that we always did also was we analyzed the topic. The next bullet is analyze competition and figure out what separates you from competition. And so when we started our home care business, Faris, we did an internship with the business. So we realized we did the research, what they were doing and what they weren't doing. Mm-hmm. And so one thing that we saw that they weren't really doing a lot of marketing. They really weren't marketing to physicians and referral sources. And so that's one thing that we could do differently is really expose our brand and let them know, educate our community on our services that we provide. When we started our home care company, we were really, really trendsetters. Mm-hmm. And I remember one of the things that we did was, which was so unique, was we bought some little cars and we wrapped those vehicles mm-hmm. with our pictures on them. And so they would ride all around the city and people would see our pictures mm-hmm. and they would relate our face with our company mm-hmm. or what we do. Mm-hmm. And so we just thought outside the box. And it's so important to think outside the box when you're starting a business, because if you're starting a business and you're doing the same thing without any kind of differentiator, you're not going to set yourself apart, and you have to set yourself apart if you want to be above competition.
Exactly. And speaking of competition, one thing that you have to go through and look at is we like to go through and have collaborators within business because I think a lot of time, yes, there's different businesses and you may actually intertwine with serving the same type of clientele, but you can collaborate with different businesses as well. It does not necessarily have to be like a all-out war and battle when it comes to actually serving, because you have to realize that if you have a scarcity mindset, that's one thing that small businesses have scarcity mindset. Growth-minded business has an abundance mindset. So there's billions of people here on this earth that needs the services, need the products, need whatever that you have. And you have to go through and look at it from that angle as well, realizing that, yes, you study the competitors to see some of the things, get some of their best practices, to kind of see some things that you can prevent from when you're starting, but also realize your uniqueness. Go through and realize that, hey, yes, you can serve, and I can serve. And we can all go through and actually do it with the mission of serving whatever product or service that we have to serve it to humanity. So I think that's another thing, is realizing that, hey, don't go at it from that angle. Go in business with a growth mindset.
And with analyzing our competition or so, we also thought about the different services that they weren't doing, and we expounded on some of those services and created and started new services within our organization. I remember the home care company that we did an internship with only provided services to seniors and adults. And so what we did was we wanted to do an array of services which brought people more to us. And so some of the services that we did was we ventured off into children, pediatric care. We also did adult daycare. We also did hospice care. And so some of these are additional services that set us apart from the other agency. And so sometimes when you're starting a business, you have to think about those things that separate you apart from the others. Adding a new component to your business, adding a new service, and that's going to definitely set you apart and make you stand out.
Exactly. And I think one thing, Caleb, when it comes to starting a business as well, is realizing that it takes time to master.
Yes.
So many times, a lot of times when you looking on Instagram or Facebook or Googling certain things, people look at a perfect product or what perceives to be a perfect product and realize that it takes time to go through and actually grow a successful business. Right. So one thing when starting a business, start it, but realize that it's not going to be perfect. Realize that you're going to have to go through your ups and your downs, but realize that if you do not give up along the process, you may eventually reach your goal that you desire as well. So I think it's very important to go through and realize that mastery takes time.
And I want to say this, there's a difference. There's a difference between being a failure and failing at something. There's a difference. And so one thing that I'm okay with failing at something. If I don't know something, if you fail, you can always get up and you can always try again. But when you have a mindset of a failure, there's no overcoming that. And so I want you to know that there's a difference. And so in business, you are going to fail. You are going to make mistakes. You are going to have to make adjustments, but you have to be focused and stay on the race and stay on the course, because you're going to overcome that if you don't quit.
Exactly. And that's one thing I think is key, Caleb, when it comes to making adjustments. That's when in business, you have to have some type of procedures and policies and things that people can go through and follow. And I think making adjustments first, when you're starting a business, you want to go through and develop your processes and procedures, regardless if you're working in a restaurant, a healthcare organization, a car wash, or selling something on Etsy or what's that, Shopify. Mm-hmm. You want to have a process, because you should have a process on how you do things. This is how you develop your product. This is how you fulfill your product. And this is how you, whatever your product or service is. And I think having those policies in place, that's very crucial as well. But also making sure when you're along that journey as well, amending those policies or adjusting those policies, especially when it comes to realizing that there are some best practices that may shorten the time to go through and provide services or whatever that's needed as well. It's so important to have those policies in place and be able to kind of get those adjustments as needed. And
last but not least, creating an action plan. I think an action plan is so important, especially for a new business. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you have your months lined out each month of what you're going to do on a day-to-day basis to achieve your goals and your objectives. One thing that we do typically, we do on a regular basis, but I would encourage a new business to do is on a monthly basis, evaluate your goal and see if you're lining up with your goals on a monthly basis. Mm-hmm. And so that's 12 times out of the year. If you're focused and giving you 30 days to really work your plan and work your goal, and then do a true evaluation for that.
Yeah. And I think that evaluation process is crucial. A lot of you may be solo entrepreneurs, meaning you're doing something on your own and you're trying to go through and actually build something, but having an evaluation period, but also incorporating a team, whether it be a team that you're hiring on board or an advisory team that can look at something from a different perspective.
Yes.
That's crucial, because now you will go through and kind of look at it from a different point of view or from a bird's eye view to see if you're moving towards your goals that you're looking at on a monthly basis, or you're moving further away from it as well.
Well, we're going to do a recap on things that you must know before you start a business. The first thing was find a need in your community and that you're passionate about. The second thing was analyze competition and figure out what separates you from your competition. And then lastly, create an action plan. And so we hope that you enjoyed our podcast. We want you to go to Spotify, subscribe to our Spotify, as well as click the notification button so you can be aware of all of our new podcasts that come out on a weekly basis. Until next time.
Okay, also, I want to go through and introduce this new feature that we have on our podcast, as well as we want to have more interaction with our audience, with our family. And so there's a voice memo button or link or something below that will allow you to go through and actually put a voice memo out there so that we can go through and hear some of the things, maybe a show suggestion, maybe it may be a comment for something we said, but we want to hear it and we want to interact with you as well. So be sure to go through and actually check out that new feature. It's a voice memo. We want to go through and hear your voice, and you even may be featured on our show as well when it comes to responding to, or if not the show, maybe on Instagram or Facebook with a response to what your question may be as well. So, Kayla, I just want to throw that in before we take off.
Well, until next time, definitely you stay safe.
Take care.